Good morning, everybody. This is Terry Trubled, Chair of Trustees for the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police, and we're back with another Facts Matter moment. Today we have gubernatorial candidate Senator Darren Bailey, with us, and thanks, Senator, for taking the time.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity and this time. I appreciate it.
You betcha. We've got a few key things that our members are seriously concerned about. And I guess we should just probably jump in. One of the things is, of course, this monstrosity of a bill, this 750-page debacle that happened in the middle of the night, House Bill 3653. And from our perspective, what we're just trying to figure out is how we're going to fix this thing, or basically how's the Black Caucus going to fix it. They were the ones that put it forward. We've identified many of the problems, but since they own it, it's up to them to fix it in my book. But what's your take on this? And is there anything in there that we should keep, or is there anything in there that the whole thing need repealed? What's your take on it?
Well, first of all, from my gatherings and discussions, I don't think anyone on the other side of the aisle has absolutely any intentions of changing or repealing anything. As a matter of fact, from what I gather is, they want the whole deal, everything that was, supposed to have been in it in the first place, but yet was taken out. And now we see those trailer bills, coming on with a qualified immunity and other items. The only thing that I have to offer is just begging people to hang tight for a year and a half, 2 years. And then one of the first items of business as governor is that we make these sweeping changes and we restore things. So to the question, what needs to be done, I've been advocating from day one, accountability is the problem. I mean, many times whenever we see some of these issues, some of these police officers who have made terrible mistakes. Sometimes these guys have had a record, that several years prior, and unfortunately, from what I've gathered, that wasn't dealt with. So we most of this seems to be internal. It seems to be whenever someone's got a record, got an attitude, got a problem. Sometimes when that fails to be dealt with, then we have problems. Other than that, we've got a massive project, in my opinion, in the family and in the church to get people to understand and to begin teaching respect. Every bit of this stuff could be averted if people would simply honor the law. And good grief, I can't imagine what police officers are going through, knowing that anytime you pull someone over, anytime you ask someone to stop, and now maybe coming up on the scene of a burglary at a convenience store, the way your hands are tied, I find that appalling. I find that disgusting, and I find that a tool to tear down this wonderful constitutional republic that we live in.
Yeah, I know that police officers are highly distressed. July 1, all these things going into effect. Quite frankly, they don't know how to do it. And when you have probably a third of your sheriffs looking at an exit points and they're executives, that tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah. I've had in the 109th district, 9 counties. I've already had a sheriff step down, another one contemplating it, and several deputies, moving across state lines into Indiana. So no, the problem's real. And we as Americans, we're resilient, we're tough, and we can figure this out. So like I said, my message when I talk to police officers all across this state as I travel is just hang in there for a year and a half, 2 years, because people want to stay here in Illinois. That's where our family's at, that's where our homes are at. But unfortunately, many people are being pushed out, and with the makeup of the General Assembly, there just doesn't seem to be much discussion for any kind of compromise, for any kind of backing up. Matter of fact, it all seems to me that most of what was left out of the original bill probably is coming in the next 2 weeks or will be coming next year. But hang tough. That's my plea with everyone.
Absolutely. As we say, this is magical May, and all kinds of weird stuff happens in the General Assembly in the month of May. So we'll hold tight on that.
That's right.
The other thing we have is dealing with qualified immunity. And now I think it's a concept that people don't really understand out in the general public. I will say General Assembly members, judges, state's attorneys, they have absolute immunity. They can get up and speak whatever they want to speak, do whatever, pretty much when they're in session, do what they want to do. And that's that. But police have to actually qualify to get immunity should there be a situation. And I use the analogy sometimes. Let's say a fire truck comes to your house to put out your house fire, and they happen to drive across your septic and break it. Do you sue the individual fireman who was driving the vehicle? No. The fire district takes care of it for you, and that's part of the indemnification process. Apply that to police, and the policeman would be paying for your septic system.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an idea, but your thoughts on qualified immunity?
I mean, it's egregious. It's wrong. So, and I know this idea has come from the police community, from the Sheriff's Association and from FOP, the idea of removing that absolute immunity from legislators. I mean, good grief. You've got, one of the sponsors of some of this nonsense now wanting to make elected officials conservators of the peace. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see through all this and to see where these people are going with this. So no, I'm just chomping at the bits and waiting for the ability to submit a bill that would remove absolute immunity from lawmakers. So the very fact that just one of these bills that went through a while back allows sex offenders to live even closer and to be closer to schools than they've ever been allowed before. So to your point, whenever there is if there's a crime committed, then let's make these lawmakers who voted for this, let's make them liable for some of this stuff. So yeah, we're heading down a dangerous road whenever anyone thinks that the person who makes the law should be able to uphold the law. We've seen that in history, and that does not bode well.
No, definitely a difference between executive and legislative stuff. It seems like there's a lack of civil government, civics, I should say, government in people. They just don't understand the different functions of the three branches, and it causes some issues there. And I will just say that without qualified immunity, I think that the mass exodus will continue, except it'll be exacerbated. It'll really move into a high speed. How you're going to keep it, and I often tell people that, citizens that talk to us, you don't realize what's going on. There's not a good way to get this information out until this problem crawls right up on your doorstep. And then you go, how did this happen? Well, we can't be asleep at the switch and just let the General Assembly do whatever they want. Right. I guess 2022 will tell the tale as to whether we continue down this path or we get some different kind of leadership throughout the General Assembly and the State House.
And that's why I'm here, Terry. Starting in 2017, I personally became frustrated. We farm in Clay County and beyond. I got 15 men and women that work on the farm with me. The budget of 2017 and the tax increase that came along with it. When I discovered that, because I was asleep at the wheel, I'll give it to you. I was complacent. I was just like, man, I'm going to focus on my work, on my family, and on our community. And I had checked out, and I was failing. I had failed to keep keep a relationship with my representative and my senator. And I woke up one day on July 4th weekend and saw that, the General Assembly was in session, started just for whatever reason of looking into it. And when I realized what was coming down, then I began that process of kind of reconnecting. And obviously it was too late because the wheels were in motion. And so I started sharing the information that I was learning. And as I started sharing that, the influence began to exponentially grow. So that's been my mission from ever since then. Then friends and family began to, suggest that I run for state rep. The last thing in the world I wanted to do. And then as a state representative, and then when my senator stepped down, the same process happened. And now here we are for governor. I would much rather stay here and have some influence as a senator and support someone else for this run But I'm seeing the same thing that got us here in the past. It's men and women that are just simply playing the game and allowing the process to be the process without any real change. And that's been my that's what I do on my Facebook page on BaileyForIllinois.com. I share information. I get it out there. People are hungry for it. I try to get people to look beyond the headline and read the details, because once you do that, you become disgusted and you become alarmed, and hopefully you want to get activated to restore this wonderful republic that we live in.
We hope so. And just for folks that are watching, you have not been in the General Assembly. You're not a 20, 30-year guy. You're relatively new to the General Assembly.
I am. I'm served just 2 years in the House, and I'd committed myself that I would serve no more than 10 years in any position. And then the opportunity came up to run for Senate. The people in the 109 loved what I was doing, and even beyond, they began to suggest, "Hey, double your platform. You can handle it. We want you representing us." And I have been very vocal against this nonsense, this law enforcement bill, for instance. I've been very vocal even against my own people whenever accountability was needed. And I can tell you, the establishment and the system, they don't like accountability. They want things left alone, keep moving as they are. But when I see something wrong, it's no different on the farm. Things have got to function properly in order for us to prosper and make it to the next year. And that's the problem with government. People have, hands off, do whatever you want to do, and we'll get by. And as long as I can come back to my district and tell them, man, I'm hitting that no button, I'm voting for you. That's been going on for years. That has to stop. We have got to stand up. A year ago, it was right here in my heart. I felt like something wasn't right. And that's why I stood up and I sued Governor Pritzker, and we won that lawsuit, and that lawsuit still stands. But unfortunately, across this state, men and women, haven't got that message, and that was kind of a major component to jumping in and running, because I realized that can you imagine having a governor that would stand up and communicate to the people hope, prosperity, truth, and a dream of the future. And that's certainly what I intend to do, because that's what I'm doing now. So yeah, anytime you hear that word, the outsider, I can assure you I am the outsider, and I'm especially the outsider even right now as I stand up and try to hold the system accountable.
Right. And I will say, just for the folks listening, when you referred to suing the governor, it was related to the COVID restrictions.
Thank
he
you.
took upon himself the dictatorial powers, emergency powers, and it was found in your favor. So that really gave you statewide name recognition, I believe, and so forth. So let me shift over to this House Bill 3653. I'm sorry, let's go back to pensions. That's where I wanted to kind of wind this up, is pension protection. Obviously, for police officers, pensions is huge. I mean, I think at one time I read where the average age of a police officer dying was 53 from all causes. And they can retire a lot of times at 50 or 55 because it's a young woman's sport, as I call it. And so these people have paid in like 12.75% of their paycheck in some cases. And then they're also doing deferred comp, which is a kind of a form of an IRA, more or less. They're doing their best to take care of themselves under the structure that exists. The tier 1 people in the state, have a little bit better pension than tier 2, which is also tier 2 is also a challenge for recruitment and retention, because many have attempted to come to the state government and had letters of acceptance, but they make calls to the current guys and they say, well, were you before 2011 or after 2011? Yeah. And if you're after, well, here's your situation. You want to work to your, into your 60s. Or not. And so a lot of them are deciding to stay at their municipalities and possibly their counties, or going to the federal government, because police have a lot of choices in that respect, and not coming to the state. That's a problem. So what is we got a lot of money coming in from COVID, whether we like the program or not, it's coming in. Can we make sure that money goes into pensions like it's supposed to, or what's the other options we have here?
So one thing that I've learned, our budget and the state's money to a governor is like a big pot of money. A governor can reach in there, dip out, do anything that he wants to. I served on the school board in Louisville for 17 years, and I could never figure out why almost every year we would get shorted 200,000, 400,000. Sometimes 2 years later, that money would be made up. Sometimes it wasn't made up. And I never understood that, because I'd go back and I'd look and I'm like, well, the budget, the income that they planned on, it was met. So why aren't we getting our money? And so to the governor, he can put his hands in that pot and divvy out. We have over 5,000 vacancies in state government right now. Well, guess what? A year ago, over 5,000 COVID tracers were hired in our health department. So again, per the governor's decision, that's how that happened. We have got to have a conversation very, very soon regarding pensions. Yes, wouldn't it be awesome if this COVID money, this CARES Act money coming in, was set to pay down debt, was set to rein in our unfunded, our unpaid liabilities with pensions. I don't see that happening from what we're hearing. I see maybe a portion of it, maybe some of it, but I believe our budget from last year is in dire distress as well. We've always been able to borrow, we've always been able to sell bonds, and that's one reason that I have always had the pension problem, if you will, on the radar, because there are plans to rein this thing in and get it sustainable in the next 10 to 20 years. Unfortunately, no one wants to talk about it. And I've, as you well know, I do things kind of radical sometimes. And I was putting together a package of a kind of a pension package just to hold with me. And this constitutional amendment that was released in my name to remove the clause of pension protection. I'm just going to say here and tell you that wasn't supposed to be released. That got released and that got introduced. I had it drawn up. I wanted it drawn up so I could carry it. But sometimes Romans 8:28, I believe biblically in many things, as well as when you promise someone something, they should get it via the pensions. But also Romans 8:28, God works all things, together for good for those who call him his. And that's kind of what happened with this a pension amendment. That was on my birthday, and at 5 o'clock when my staff's calling me and asking me, what'd you do here? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then we figured out that, that was stuck in an email. I missed it. It got introduced. But here's what's happening. It's creating conversation. I've got in the next few weeks several meetings with AFSCME members. I've never been able to crack that door open, because if you go all the way back to September of 2017 in my Facebook videos, which that's a kind of a difficult task to do, but it can be done, you will see from day one, I have always suggested that what are we going to do about this pension problem, because no one is talking about it. Because what I fear is when that car runs over that cliff, it's going to be too late. And what's going to cause that is this pension debt that we see growing every year, and Moody's finally coming to the point where they rate us at junk bond status. And when they do that, the state of Illinois can no longer borrow and can no longer sell bonds. Then we've got some serious problems. And the fear is that one of the things, obviously, if you don't have the money, you can't make the payments. That's what I fear. And if we would sit around, I don't have I don't have a grand plan of solutions. I don't think anyone does. I think that's why we're not talking about it. But I do know that if we would have a conversation and discuss the COLA, if we'd have a conversation and discuss potential health insurance participation, if we'd have a conversation, and even, who knows, I think we could probably rework the whole grand scheme of things. I mean, I cannot imagine being a police officer or a prison guard up to your mid 60s. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine the teachers being in the classrooms that long, unless they just love it and they want to be, in which case they should be. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a serious set down conversation. I don't see anything happening until, I would be in the governor's seat. But I want to prepare for that now, so that when we, as governor, I'm telling you, I expect to make some serious, radical, fast changes, because we have to. Time is wasting, and we've got to start putting things on the table and informing the people of the possibilities and get real with this. But under absolutely zero conditions, any union member, period, would I ever stand for cutting any of the earned benefits that they have coming. That would just that there's another tool for the destruction of an economy and a republic.
Yep. I know that I've overheard you say that if you are elected governor, that the FOP will always have a seat at the table. Did I hear that correctly?
I want that now. Absolutely. any union, because unfortunately, Republicans are always tainted as anti-union. And I know with the last administration, probably gave them good cause for that. But my question is simply this. We've got this problem that we've had, and we have to look to Chicago, and we can simply ask, what party has dictated the game forever in Chicago? And we've got to simply ask, what party has dictated the game for the last 50 years, at least here in Illinois? So my plea to people is wake up, take another look, and let's try something different. And I have always had the sheriff's organizations in the surrounding counties of Clay and surrounding that I've worked with. Please, I'm going to throw a name out there right now to you, Travis Reinhardt. His dad, he's a state police detective. His dad is my shop foreman at our farm and has been for well over 20 years. So please do some background checking of who I am, what I've always stood for, and I think you're going to be very happy, because I'm a man of my word. When I say something, I never, ever go back on it.
Very good. Well, Senator, hey, I appreciate it. We wanted to make this kind of short and sweet, so the guys that are got a break in the squad car, they'll have an opportunity to watch this. So your time this morning, is any wrap-up statement you'd like to make before we close her out?
Reach out to me anytime. You've got my cell. Anybody wants it, you give it to them. If they need to talk to me, I've got I talk daily. People call in my office, police officers, state police, people across this state. BaileyForIllinois.com is my webpage. You can find me on Facebook, Bailey for Illinois, but you can also Darren, DARREN, at Bailey for Illinois. Send me an email. I'll get in contact with you. Call any of my offices, Mattoon, Louisville, here in Springfield. I'll meet with anybody, anytime. I'll buy your breakfast, your lunch, whatever. We have got to start having this conversation. And to the law enforcement and the men and women that you represent, I promise you, I assure you, no campaign promises. I have your back. It's that simple.
Very good. Well, thank you, Senator. On behalf of the FOP, I appreciate your time this morning. And for all of those listeners, it's another one of our Facts Matter moments, and I hope you join us for the next one. Thank you very much.